Today's program is brought to you by OTCStockShark.com. For the latest and greatest OTC and Pink Sheets information, sign up for your account at OTCStockShark.com. Thank you for tuning in to TBC Today. I'm Brandon Vincent.
And I'm Angelina Soriano.
In today's financial news, U.S. stocks climbed as better than expected jobs data and encouraging retail sales fueled optimism over U.S. economic recovery. After breaking above 10,000 on Wednesday, the Dow Jones Industrial Average recently rose 77 points or 0.8% to 10,095. Boeing rose 2.5% after saying it will acquire Narus, a privately held software company that specializes in protecting large IP networks from attack. Economically sensitive General Electric gained 2.1% and American Express gained 2%. Checking some of the Dow's gains, Home Depot fell 5%, while Travelers slipped 0.3%. The NASDAQ Composite rose 0.7% to 2,175. The S&P 500 rose 0.7% to 1,067, led by its industrial sector. Consumer staples also strengthened, boosted by strong retail sales at Costco. Costco shares gained 1.9% after its June same-store sales rose 4%, slightly below expectations for a rise of 4.2%, though the company noted the shift in Memorial Day hurt sales by about 2%. Walgreens rose 2.8%, while Tyson Foods gained 1.9%.
In U.S. news, Toyota Motor Corporation said it has received reports more than 3 years ago of faulty engine valve springs at the center of a U.S. recall of nearly 139,000 luxury Lexus vehicles it announced last week. Toyota plans to recall 270,000 luxury Lexus and Toyota Crown vehicles across the United States, Japan, Canada, Australia, Europe, and other countries due to the potential defects that could lead to engine failures. The report on the U.S. recall to U.S. safety regulators is the latest blow to Toyota, which has recalled more than 10 million vehicles worldwide, mostly due to the potential for unintended acceleration. Toyota said in its notice to the U.S. National Highway Traffic Safety Administration that it has received a report from the Japan market in March 2007 about abnormal noise and engine shaking and examined a broken engine valve spring. The notice to regulators said there was a possibility a valve spring could degrade over time, leading to failure. The automaker said it made improvements to its casting process after the initial report, but received more reports of broken valve springs. Toyota increased the thickness of the valve springs in August 2008 and again in September 2009. Toyota said from October 2009 onward, they received an increasing number of reports that valve springs produced before August 2008 were breaking, as well as of total engine failures, though not of all of crashes or injuries. Toyota said it would replace the engine valve springs with the new thicker version at no cost. It did not provide safety regulators with a recall schedule.
In today's international news, police officials in Norway said Thursday that they had arrested 3 men suspected of having links to Al-Qaeda in a terrorism conspiracy tied to plots in the U.S. and Britain. A police official said the arrest took place on Thursday, with the men suspected of planning to use bombs containing peroxide that were both powerful and easily transported. A statement from the office of Prime Minister Jens Stoltenberg said prosecutors were still investigating the case against the 3 detainees and the question of guilt has not been decided. Siv Alsen, a spokesman for the Norwegian Police Security Services, said in a telephone interview that there could be further arrest as a result of ongoing investigations, but she declined to spell out the precise connection between terrorism cases in Britain and the U.S. She said that 2 of the arrests took place in Oslo and 1 in Germany. The suspects had not resisted arrest. The detentions were the first involving terrorism suspects in Norway since 2006.
These are the most powerful songs of all time. Time Life presents Classical Power on 5 CDs for just $29.99. But wait, order in the next 10 minutes with your credit card, and we'll cut the price to just $14.99. That's right, you get 5 CDs for just $14.99. Then preview other beautiful classical CDs. Satisfaction guaranteed. This collection is not sold in stores, so call now and get Time Life's Classical Power on 5 CDs for just $14.99.
Call 1-800-731-0511 to order Classical Power for $14.99 plus shipping when you call in the next 10 minutes with your credit card or order online at timelife.com/power.
In health news, even if you're past your prime and have a hard time getting an erection, you might still need to worry about unprotected sex. In fact, the report in the Annals of Internal Medicine, the rate of sexually transmitted diseases in older men taking erectile dysfunction drugs like Viagra are twice as high as in their non-medicated peers. In both groups, the numbers are swelling. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, there were more than 6 new cases of STDs per 10,000 men over 40, up almost 50% since 1996. While the reason for this development aren't well understood, more divorces and better health might have conspired to boost sexual prowess and activity among graying heads. The problem is that older adults appear to flaunt safe sex practices. For instance, the researchers note 50-year-olds are 6 times less likely to use a condom than men in their 20s. To test whether the introduction of Viagra in 1998 might explain some of the STD surge, scientists examined insurance records for more than 1.4 million U.S. men over the age of 40. The average age in the study was about 60 years old. The most commonly found STD was HIV, followed by chlamydia, syphilis, and gonorrhea. Among the few percent of men who have failed prescriptions for erectile dysfunction drugs, more than 2 in 1,000 had been treated for an STD in the year before they got the drug. A year later, the number dropped to half that, suggesting that Viagra and its chemical cousins didn't fuel STDs. However, the risk of contracting an STD turned out to be more than twice as high in men taking erectile dysfunction drugs compared with those who didn't.
In today's tech news, more troops than ever are surviving their battlefield injuries, often overloading the military's healthcare system. Massive blood shortages continue to plague the military trauma care, and the problem is complicated by the remote, inaccessible locations of today's war zones. In 2008, DARPA, the Pentagon's Blue Sky research arm, launched the blood farming program with the goal of manufacturing megadoses of universal donor red blood units using a compact, self-contained system. Farming is the process of genetically engineering animals or plants to generate mass quantities of medically useful substances like hormones or antibodies. In this case, DARPA wants a synthetic platform that's engineered to cultivate blood cells. Now, Arteriosite, the biotech firm that got $1.95 million for the project, has sent off an initial shipment of their farm blood product to the FDA in hopes of going over well with the agency's safety regulators. The blood was produced using cells derived from embryonic cord blood units. Currently, it takes Arteriosite scientists 3 days to turn a single umbilical cord unit into 20 units of RBC-packed blood. The average soldier needs 6 units during trauma treatment. The company CEO, Don Brown, said, "We're basically mimicking the bone marrow in a lab environment. Our model works, but we need to advance our production abilities to make scale." And while DARPA is largely after an endless stream of war zone blood, Brown, whose company uses technology created at Johns Hopkins, thinks farm blood would have several advantages over relying on donated blood.
In entertainment news, writer-actor Thomas Lennon has grabbed roles in the third Harold and Kumar film and the Fox comedy What's Your Number? Lennon comes aboard the latest installment of the Stoner franchise, A Very Harold and Kumar Christmas, as a suburban dad and neighbor of Harold's who gets caught up in the pair's latest nutty adventure. The comedy recently began production. In What's Your Number, Lennon portrays one of the many ex-boyfriends with whom a woman reconnects in her search for the right one she might have missed. Lennon, who recently has popped up in comic parts in I Love You Man and 17 Again, next appears in the Columbia comedy Bad Teacher. As a writer, Lennon co-wrote the Night at the Museum movies, Balls of Fury, and Reno 911 Miami.
Thank you for tuning in to TBC Today. I'm Brandon Vincent.
And I'm Angelina Soriano.